Mets fans, whoever you're a fan of, thank you guys so much for chiming back into the channel. We have a lot to get into because today's MLB trade deadline day. We are doing a trade deadline frenzy stream later on this evening for multiple hours leading up to the trade deadline's conclusion at exactly 6 p.m. Eastern today. Justin Verlander may very well be on the move. The question is where? The Orioles, the Dodgers, the Padres, the Astros, all among teams with the most intensified interest. Tommy Pham seems like he's going to be out of here. Brooks Raley might be out of here. A lot of moves are certainly on the horizon for the team in Queens. However, today I need to start off by coming out with an early morning video because we saw a report that I looked at. I said, there's no way. This is clickbait. Why are we even considering this? Why are we discussing this? However, there is some truth to this, and that comes from the Athletics, Tim Britton and Will Salmon, who both do a fantastic job in their own right covering the Mets on the Athletic. And they came out with a piece today discussing the Mets and their plans for 2024 and how, yes, they are shopping Pete Alonso. Now, this is a day that I never thought I'd be discussing. This is a topic I never thought I'd be discussing. I'm very passionate in regards to Pete Alonso and discussing said topic. So when this came out, I did not take it lightly. I was like, initially, there's no chance. Read the article. Okay, there's substance here. Talked to some people around the industry that certainly have sources and know what they're talking about. And they told me that, yes, this is valid. This is in fact true. That according to this piece from Will Salmon and Tim Britton, over the past week, the Mets have in fact been shopping Pete Alonso. Now, let's make it clear. Just because they're shopping him does not mean that he's going to be dealt. This could really be almost a tactic, if you will, to kind of say, let's say hypothetically, they're apart on extension talks. Maybe this is a tactic to kind of scare him straight a little bit, to which I say Pete Alonso does not deserve that. I hope that's not the case. This is not the Steve Cohen and the Mets that we were expecting, right? If this is just a monetary issue by any stretch, then the Mets should go out and make sure that they extend Pete Alonso. But that's a broken record. We've been saying that forever now. So you look at the turmoil, everything that has happened with the Mets this year. Who would have thought heading into the season that both Max Scherzer and now potentially Justin Verlander could be traded halfway through the year, basically? No one expected that heading into the year. And if you did, I'm sorry, you're talking right out your ass. That's just simply not true. But what is true, however, is that everything that could have went wrong has went wrong for this Mets team this year. And now we're at the point of, okay, any player that has an expiring contract after the 2024 season, the Mets are willing to part with, even if it means their star slugger, that being in Pete Alonso. And the reason why I'm frustrated and I'm animated to talk about this, and I want to know your thoughts and comments below, is regardless on Alonso's future, one, I do not think he's going to get traded today. Two, I do think that this is something that the Mets are going to consider more than we initially thought heading into the offseason should they not get an extension done. But this is Pete Alonso. Like, what are we doing here? Why is his name even in the public eye like this? What is the tactic? What is the move from the front office here? If this is solely just for the sake of kind of listening to see what's out there, as Epler emphasized, the Mets are not rebuilding next year. However, he did tamper the expectations for 2024. The Mets, as of right now, are not going to have World Series expectations heading into 2024. I don't know what their expectations are going to be. It's really going to be indicative on how they build and replenish their rotation this offseason, or lack thereof, and of course, what they do on the offensive side of things too. So a lot of questions will be answered throughout the offseason, but for now, we're all left with these question marks because Pete Alonso isn't just some Joe Schmo first baseman. And do not get me wrong, I understand that slugging first baseman that hit upwards of 25, 30 bombs a year are fairly replaceable, especially if they're not good defensively. We've seen it time and time again with guys that are basically DHs that end up losing a job because they're low contact, but they're high in slugging, and they only last so long in the league. However, Pete Alonso is an anomaly. He has led all of baseball, including passing Aaron Judge in home runs hit since arriving the Bigs as a rookie in 2019. Why is this even in the public eye? Why are we having these discussions? I get it that Alonso's not had the greatest season, and he really has struggled since coming back from his wrist injury after Charlie Morton drilled him earlier this year. However, he just won NL Player of the Week. He's starting to heat up Quaban. That's what you love to see. Why are we having this discussion? Why is this being brought up right now? I really hope that this is just for the sake of, okay, we heard rumblings, that's all it is. The Mets kind of just want to feel things out a little bit because they're really weighing all options imaginable for 2024 and then 2025. But now us fans are left with question marks. Okay, what does 2024 entail? Is this a team that really kind of wants to be teetering between good, not great, kind of like this year, next year, and then they're really going to go all in for 2025? That's kind of the vibe I'm getting now as I'm discussing them, and as they parted with Max, they parted, of course, with Mark Canha yesterday. yesterday. They part with David Robertson. Again, guys on expiring deals for the most part, but especially they trade Justin Verlander, which they do. It needs to be for a haul. There's some great prospects from the Orioles, from the Dodgers, that if I'm in the Mets shoes, I'm definitely considering heavily. However, it still does not change the fact that from the expectations that this team had heading into the season to now, they're actually considering, they're actually thinking that it's through their head that they are considering shopping the best star slugging first baseman in baseball. And that's a fact. No one has more home runs than Pete since coming in the league. So I'm not trying to, offend anyone that loves him. Matt Olson, Freddie Freeman, all phenomenal players. I'm not saying that they're not better contact hitters, because some of them certainly are. However, Pete Alonso went on, is the best home run hitter in baseball. Arguably, he's very much up there. And he's not a guy that you can just replace in a snap of a finger. So now that we're seeing these reports, again, from some great people at the Athletic, Will Saban does a phenomenal job. Had the pleasure of doing a SNY segment with him for a Mets Off Day live show earlier this year to begin the season pretty much. And that was a great discussion. Really, really good guy. Tim Brin does a great job in his own right for the Athletic. And these guys have sources. They're not talking out of their ass. They know 100% what they're talking about. They have valid sources that they are getting these connections from, industry sources, whoever it may be. So for this to be brought attention now, the day of the trade deadline, it really makes you wonder where this organization is not only at, but where they're planning to be at. Because of this team having as much turmoil as they've had this year, because of them missing on all expectations imaginable, I appreciate Steve Cohen saying, hey, we tried with the two-head horsemen of a rotation. It's not working. Now I'm going to try to trade them, because if they're not going to help me immediately, if Justin Verlander say, hey, not going to be the X factor in us winning or losing ball games next year, because say we're still not going to be a World Series caliber team, then might as well trade him for the best possible return, eat a boatload of his contract, and get some elite prospects from Orioles, from a Dodgers, from Padres. I mean, even though I would want Salas, and of course he's not getting dealt, even though that'd be amazing. Or of course, I've heard rumblings with the top prospects with the Astros, that being Gilbert. So I don't know what is going to happen here. What I do know is that this trade deadline is becoming crazy, and it's becoming crazy fast. Justin Verlander talks are heating up like no tomorrow. At this rate, I will be surprised if Justin Verlander isn't traded, even with the high asking price, because there's a lot of big teams in on him. And now Pete Alonso, how many teams are showing preliminary interest there? Are the Mets even considering getting into any type of negotiations to potentially part with him from now up until 6 p.m. Eastern today? I don't know, but what I do know is that it is insane that I'm even having this discussion. I'm pissed off that I'm having this discussion. I don't know what the hell is going on with this club right now, pardon my French, but I need to be blunt with you guys as a fan. Who would have thought this? I'm discussing the fact that reportedly it's actually been happening over the past week. Pete effing Alonso has been shopped, and there is a possibility that he will not even be a Met in 2024 if the Mets say are far apart on extension talks and do not meet in the middle. So hard for me to fathom. This feels like, God forbid if that were to happen, it feels like a Zach Wheeler situation 2.0, a guy that you knew you should have brought back. That was previous regime though, so it's justified. Of course, they got that one wrong, but it's not justified if the Mets allow Alonso to walk. Unless they have the best possible replacement right away, which I doubt that they would, there's nothing to justify. He deserves the money 100%. I get it. He does not deserve a $300 million contract. However, he does deserve to be paid for the type of slugger that he is. And not only that, he's not just a slugger. He's one of the faces of this franchise, and he has clutched up. He has been huge in many moments in his young Mets tenure. And this is something that you cannot take for granted as a homegrown power hitting talent that Pete Alonso is, that embraces what it means to be a New York Met. Very David Wright-esque in how he wears the Mets on his heart, on his sleeve. He does a phenomenal job with that. He is a fan favorite. If you're not a Mets fan, you probably don't like him because he can be cringy to many, but it doesn't change the fact that he is one of the best power hitters, if not the best, in all of baseball. And even consider the idea of parting with him at this point in his career, given his age and given what his projections are likely going to be, even if he shifts more into a DH role in the coming years. It's just so silly to me that we're even having this discussion. So, Mets fans, I'll leave you with that. We will talk more in depth on this. I will answer your questions with our multi-hour live show for the Mets trade deadline frenzy stream a little bit later today. But until then, I want to know your thoughts in the comments below. Pete Alonso, could the Mets actually do the unthinkable and trade away one of the best young phenoms in baseball for the sake of getting the best possible return, knowing that they aren't going to extend him? I'm not sure, but I do want to know your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know how you're feeling about the trade deadline as a whole. Are you happy with the Mets move so far? You're not happy? What are you looking forward to? What move do you think is next? What is the next domino to flick and it falls down? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know. Thank you guys all so much again. Love you to death, and I'll talk to you again real soon. Let's go Mets, baby. Peace out.